build a competitor. That was just a thought exercise. It would take hundreds of millions of dollars and years. Now imagine you were feeling threatened by Stripe. Imagine you're a large company. Visa, MasterCard, just as an example. You can now actually get one or two really smart people like him to lead an effort where you would say, here's a couple $100 million to compete with Stripe, but here are the boundary conditions. Number one is you can only hire 5 or 10 engineers. And so what you would do is you would actually use tools like this to write the code for you. And the ability to write code is going to be the first thing that these things do incredibly well with absolute precision. You can already do unit testing incredibly well, but it's going to go from unit testing to basically end-to-end testing. And you'll be able to build a version of Stripe extremely quickly and in a very lean way. So then the question is, well, what would you do with the 200 or 300 million you raised? And my thought is you use it, again, as TAC. You go
acquire customers. You
go to customers and you're like, well, listen, if Braintree is going to charge you 1 basis point over Visa, MasterCard, 100 basis points, and Stripe will 50, you know what? I'll charge 10.
Margin destruction.
Totally.
And this is going to make everything.
That's what's so interesting. You can take any business that's a middleman business. I think this is the point. Any middleman business right now that doesn't have its own competitive moat can be competed against. Because now you can take all of those input costs that go into human capital, you can defer that, have a much smaller human capital pool, and push all of that extra money into traffic acquisition and subsidization.
This goes to the movement in Silicon Valley of being more efficient. This is going to lead to that efficiency.
The net benefit of all of this is economic productivity, because the end customer that's using that tool that you just mentioned, they now have a lower cost to run their business, and their total net profits go up. And this is what happens with every technology cycle. It always yields greater economic productivity, and that's why the economy grows. And that's why, I just want to say this is so important. That's why technology is so important to drive economic growth, not debt. We've historically used financial engineering to drive economic growth, but
and this is why we need immigration.
Technology and innovation drive this.
What about China? What about China?
Wait, what are you talking about? What we're describing here is AI making it harder and harder to make humans productive. So you want to bring in millions
it's more productivity per human of labor. Yeah, one human can do the coding that 20 humans would do before.
Assuming they're skilled enough to use the AI.
Guys, go back to like traditional
chat
capitalism.
Prompts are easier than programming.
Go back to traditional capitalism for a second. So go back, because the Stripe example is another good one. So if you have this business model, right, how does the ecosystem get efficient, right? How do we create more opportunity to use Friedberg's language? Well, the only way that it really happens, how does costs go down, is that certain entities become big enough that they can drive the prices down, right? An Uber, a DoorDash, or whomever says, yes, I need payments capability, so Braintree, give me your best bid. Checkout.com, give me your best bid. Adyen, give me your best bid. Stripe, give me your best bid. You compete it down, right? Amazon comes in. Walmart comes in. They do it in physical CPG goods. They do it online. They do it for all kinds of technologies. But you've never had an internal form that can create hyper efficiency and basically create customer value like this thing can, because this thing can allow
Let me show you an example.
Jillion 10-person companies to get created that can do the work of 10,000 people. That's so cool.
Hold on. Let me show you two things. These are two aha moments I had this week. This first one is called Galileo AI. It was just a tweet. You describe the design of an app. And here they say an onboarding screen of a dog walking app.
Incredible.
And you type that in and it gives you a welcome screen. That's like a 7 out of 10. Then it says, oh, a way for people to change their name, phone number, and password. You know, that classic screen on any app. I need to change my thing. Boom, it gives you that. Well, then at the same time that people are making text to UX, user interface, beautiful here, this stuff will get dumped into Figma. But then there's GitHub Copilot, which if you haven't seen, we all know it here. This is allowing you GitHub, and GitHub Copilot, GitHub is bought by Microsoft, another one of Satya Nadella's incredible acquisitions. This guy's like the new Zuckerberg. I mean, what an incredible person to come after Ballmer, who's just so effective at what he's doing. As you're writing your code, it fills in your code. It knows what you're writing, just like in an email. And it's a smaller subset of information than email. Email, you could write anything. You could be, talking to a lover or a business person, whatever. Here, when you're doing programming, it's a much finer data set. these two things are going to come together where you're going to be able to build your MVP for your startup by typing in text and then publish it. You're not going to need a developer for your startup. That is transformative in the world.
Let me ask you guys a question. Do you think that this leverage, and I argue this is all about like leverage. It's one person can generate X units of output more.
Yep.
Do you guys think that this commoditizes and puts at risk, SaaS in particular, like all of enterprise SaaS, because it becomes such a commodity to basically build a business that does something now? Or does it create much higher returns for investors because you invest so much less capital to get to a point of productivity with that business or revenue with that business than was needed before?
I'm not sure. I tend to think that if it gets easier, then everything becomes more competitive. So,
right.
I don't know, but
so value gets competed away.
By the way, I would slightly disagree with the characterization.
Does this scare you as an investor? I
don't know. I mean, like for example, in that demo we just saw, what does the AI do? It exports the new design assets to Figma format because that's the standard.
It just makes you faster.
So if you can create a SaaS product that becomes a standard, everyone's still going to want to use it. And there's like really good reasons for that. So I don't know. I don't think business software is going away. I also don't think that like you're not going to need to hire engineers because Copilot's just going to do it for you. I think what Copilot will do is make your typical engineer more productive.
Right. Yes.
They had some graphs around how like Copilot reduced coding time by 50%.
Right.
So I think you'll be able to get a lot more out of your developers. I think that's sort of the key is a lot of the drudgery work gets taken care of.
The answer, Freeberg, to your question is, I think more startups, more niche startups will make better products, and then you'll just have many more folks like making SaaS for dentists, making SaaS.
Are those venture? Sure. They don't get big enough, right? I mean, in that case,
entry price matters.
It'll be poorer returns.
Well, entry price matters too. If you're investing at $5 million, like I do in companies when they're just on napkins and back of envelope, there's plenty of room. If you have a $200 million exit, that's a 40x.
But there could be a lot of new categories too, like a lot of new categories. There could be a lot of traditional industries. There's a lot of traditional industries that get disrupted. Like we're thinking about just software displacing software. It could be software displacing like industries that aren't even software
video
yet.
games. I think the entire video game industry is going to get completely rewritten with AI because you're not going to have a publisher anymore that makes one game that everyone consumes. You're going to have tools that everyone creates and consumes their own game. You guys want to watch this cool clip? It's 58 seconds long.
Go ahead.
This is a music
clip day here on All In.
But I thought it was really cool.
Is this AI turning you into Eminem? This is what the world's waiting for. I hope it's you doing an Eminem song.
It's not me. I'm naturally Eminem-like, but this is a...
Only in your anger.
This is the future rave sound. I'm getting lost in an underground. This is the future rave sound. I'm getting lost in an underground.
Is that Eminem?
It's David Guetta. And David Guetta playing Eminem, a track with Eminem's voice, right? And the track just became hugely viral.
Something that I made as a joke, and it works so good, I could not believe it. I discovered those websites that are about AI. Basically, you can write lyrics in the style of any artist you like. So I typed, write a verse in the style of Eminem about future rave. And I went to another AI website that can recreate the voice. I put the text in that and I played the record and people went nuts.
All right, that is nuts. It's nuts. And the crowd went wild for it.
Awesome. So
awesome. Here it is, folks. Whoever makes the best Friedberg Eminem hybrid rap with David Sachs as the hype man's getting a free VIP ticket to All In Summit 2023.
I think we need an AI performance at All In Summit 2023.
1,000%. You and I are so in sync these days, Friedberg.
There are going to be a lot of interesting mashups that get created. Like, for example, you'd be able to create a movie where, let's say you want to make a Western and you want John Wayne to star in it. I mean, you obviously get the rights from the
let's say
Wayne
you want to
estate,
make it.
but no actor ever goes away. You could there's going to be a database of all of them.
But if you wanted to make it,
it's going to be better. You're going to be writing the script. As you write the script, the AI is going to be showing you that scene in real time.
And you don't have to publish it, right?
Cloudy
that's
day,
the point.
Rainy day. It'll just change in real time.
I think
about what that would do for Star Wars.
Just like Instagram,
just like Instagram
and just like Instagram and TikTok basically democratized like everyone's ability to create and publish content. This takes it to a whole nother level where the monopoly that big production houses have because they have the big budget so they can afford to make a big movie. If that cost of making a $10 million movie goes to $10,000 or $1,000 of compute time anyone sitting in their studio in a basement can start to make a movie. And it really changes the landscape for all media, not just movies, music, video games, and ultimately the consumers themselves can create stuff for their own enjoyment. And maybe the best of those products win.
You nailed it.
But having each individual create their own content.
The movie industry would just become a lot more like the music industry. I mean, remember, anyone can really create a song now. And they do. And people do go viral on TikTok.
Then they upload it on DistroKid and it's on Spotify.
Did you guys see this article in the